Hello, everyone, and welcome to another Multifamily Investing Academy's Masterclass Elite Group Coaching call, and also for our owner forum members as well. And the topic today is going to be a quick, easy little lesson, but I think you're going to pick up some great pointers for how to craft your offer the best way. The reason why I'm talking about this is because I've seen a lot of my students come back with their offers, and the time elements, the different paragraphs that talk about how much time you're going to need for a particular event, don't make any sense. They don't fit together. And if you're looking at this from an acquisition process or an acquisition flow, it doesn't flow well. And this might be, in some instances, it could be construed by the seller as, well, let me fix this, always never fails. It could be construed by the seller as being a sign of amateurness, that you're not experienced enough. You lack experience in the process flow, and they may look at that and say, forget this offer. This offer is crazy. So let me take you through a standard, the short form letter of intent. That's all we need to look at is the short form. And I will talk to you about why we do exactly what we do in each one of the time elements. So, having said that, as required by the Massachusetts Bar Counsel's Office, I'm here to tell you that I'm a lawyer. I'm not your lawyer. I want you to get a lawyer, okay? I will work with your lawyer. I work with all of my clients' lawyers, but I do not represent them as their attorney. I'm licensed in Massachusetts and nowhere else in the country, and I do not want to get myself into any problem with any other bar office, bar association, by doing what is called UPL, unlicensed practice of law. So get a lawyer. Okay, now let's take a quick jump over here. I'm going to switch my screen over to a short form letter of intent. Okay, so here we are. Looks familiar. All of you have seen this. If you haven't seen it, you should be seeing it, because you should be making offers by now at least. So let's take a look. The first time element involved in the letter of intent can be found in this standard paragraph, the purchase agreement. Okay, what we're saying here is that when both parties agree to the terms within this letter of intent, both parties are going to get their teams together and work towards coming up with a definitive, final, acceptable purchase agreement, purchase and sale agreement. And we're going to give each side a certain amount of time to get that done. And while we're using that time, and while that time is going on, nobody else is supposed to be marketing the property, or is supposed to be, trying to get somebody else to do it. Both sides are supposed to be working in good faith towards getting this accomplished. So in this particular paragraph, we put down 15 business days. So you're talking, 3 weeks. 3 weeks is more than enough time to get a document done. Typically it takes 2 weeks. So we've built in a lot of time here, and we did that to protect the buyers, to give you more time to really figure out, geez, do I have the money lined up? Do I have the earnest money ready to go when the time happens? So that is where you see the first date in the equation. Can it be shorter? Absolutely. What happens if the seller comes back and says, no, I'm only going to give you 5 days. My lawyer's ready to rock and roll. We're going to use our contract. Well, remember my rule. Always remain in control of the deal. If you're able to save 5 days and you're able to make everything happen in that amount of time, then go ahead, save 5 days, but always remain in control of the deal. The thing is that I've never seen a deal killed because you've gone beyond the 15 days. Sometimes, as long as both sides are working hard back and forth towards hammering out the contract, this 15 days kind of goes by the wayside and nobody's worried about it. But if one party is not doing anything, not answering their calls, not answering their emails, yeah, at the end of 15 days, this deal's done. We're not even going to move forward with a purchase and sale agreement. Thank you very much. Have a nice day. So that's the first time element. Now, the next time element is in the earnest money deposit. When do you have to have your money into the escrow agent? Okay, now look at the way that we draft our earnest money deposit number. It's 3 business days after the effective date. Now notice that the effective date is a defined term. It's defined in the next paragraph as being the date on which the purchaser, you, have received all of the documents listed in Schedule 1. So that means that, and this is the part that really drives me crazy, is that you've got this seller who is agreeing to this letter of intent, and in the back of the letter of intent is the Schedule 1. So in other words, from the very first piece of correspondence we've ever sent to this person, they know exactly what we need. And if we get down and we execute this contract and we start moving forward and they can't get us that stuff, well, shame on them. They've known since day one what we've needed. Now they're telling us, oh, we changed our mind. We're not going to be able to give you this. Well, you know what? That doesn't work for us. And that is why we write this earnest money deposit date the way we do. We really put it to the seller to give us what we asked for. And if you don't, we're not going to put our money down in anyone else's account unless you do what you say you're going to do. So what they do here, what we do here is we say, you give us everything and we're keeping track of it. As soon as you give us everything, within 3 business days of that date, we will put the money into the account. Now, I'm telling you, folks, I've seen this so many times, and you get a lot of the sellers like, no, when we sign this contract, that's when you put the money in. And how do you overcome that response from the seller? You say, okay, that's no problem. I will agree to do that. I will be more than happy to agree that when we sign this contract, I will put my money in 3 days later, but that's provided you've given me all the documents. Is there any reason, Mr. Seller, why you can't have all the documents for me on the day that we sign? Any particular reason? No. Okay, then fine. There's no reason to worry about the way I've worded it here. If you can provide all the documents, I'll have the money in 3 days. Thank you very much. It's when they can't perform that's when the problem starts. And it really does become a problem. All right, so that's it. So look at we've now spent. Look how much time has gone by. We've got 15 business days, 3 weeks to get the contract drafted. Then the guy's got to get us all the documents. How long does that take? It takes for some deals, I've never seen it all come in. So I've seen some deals where you don't even have to put down the earnest money. The guy has never put it in. So you put all that in there. Now we're getting down to the part where we're in the inspection period. Okay, now this is where we really start to talk about the acquisition flow. Okay, so the effective date shall be the date that all the documents listed in Schedule 1 are received. Purchaser shall have 15 days from the start of the effective date. Okay, now in this particular template, it says 15 days. I typically always go with 30. 30 days, unless it's a tiny little project in your hometown, you don't need 30 days to look at it. And think about what your audience is thinking when they read this, your audience being the seller. He looks at it and it's a 6 family in right down the street from your office, and you want 30 days to inspect it. The seller's going to look at you and say, like, are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? Get off your duff and walk down there and take a look at the property. I'll give you 10 days. Or it's a 220 unit property in Fort Worth, Texas, and you live over here in Boston. Well, yeah, I'm going to need 30 days. I got to go down there. I got to get my team. We got to go through every single unit. I got to go through this. I need 30 days. And remember, that 30 days does not start until you get all the documents in. Now, why is that? If you had watched my due diligence course, you would know exactly why. Because the last thing you do in this 30-day phase is the physical inspection. The last thing you're going to do is get on a flight to Fort Worth, Texas to look at this property. For the 2 weeks beforehand, the first 15 days of that 30-day period, you're doing the financial due diligence and you're doing the legal due diligence in your office in Boston. You're not even getting out of your chair. And that's why you have to wait for all the documentation to come in, because there's no sense even starting the financial due diligence if you don't have all the utility bills. There's no sense starting all the financial due diligence if you don't have, the correct trailing 12. So don't even get out of your chair in the first 30 days of the inspection period until you've received all the documents and you've got them all lined up, and you go through it and you decide that this deal is what this seller has professed it to be. If that you can't get past that point, you're not even going to get on a plane, so don't even bother. Okay, so that's why you typically do, like, depending upon the size of the property and the and how not confusing, but how challenging the analysis is going to be. That's when you decide you're going to use a 15 days, 30 days, even sometimes even 45 days for an inspection period. So keep that in mind. All right, now that's the inspection period component. Let's take a look at the, okay, this is probably not the right letter of intent I should have used for this analysis, but let's talk about the financing contingency. Let's talk about the financing period. Now, you've got 30 days of the inspection. You get down to the end of the 30th day. This property is a smoking hot deal. You decide you're going to move forward with it. Now you enter the financing contingency phase. This is where the bank gets the opportunity to do their underwriting. Now keep in mind, you've been talking with your bank before you even got the purchase and sale agreement signed. So the bank knows what's coming up. They know what to expect. Okay? So once they know what to expect, they can start doing their own in-house underwriting, but they can't do it all until you've completed your inspection period. So always right after the inspection period is when the financing contingency starts to kick in. So how do we draft it from a time element standpoint? Typically what we do is we give the bank 30 days to do their work. So there will be 30-day inspection period, 30-day financing period. And that means at the end of the 60th day, that's when you know you better pull that trigger, or you better get out of that deal. Because after that point, your money is hard. So think about that when you're writing this offer. Now, let's talk about the timing. The 60th day is when you're going to have to know if things are done. And that means that when you're looking to craft your offer and understand the timing elements, you've got to line up the inspection period and the financing period in such a way that they get to the 60th day. So you can do it in such a way that you can do 45 days for the inspection period and then 15 days for the financing period. Does that mean that your bank has only got 2 weeks to do the financing period? No, you've been working with your bank since day one. So they've probably already given you approval on day 45. But you've got 2 weeks after that point where your money is contingently hard. And so, and that's why at the 45th day to the 60th day, you're done. So you can write this as a 30-60 or a 45-15, but you don't want to do any crazy dates. And this is where I see new students going wrong. You don't want to do any crazy dates like 45-day inspection, 45-day financing, 30-day close. Now we're out 120 days. No one's going to buy that. The seller doesn't want to hold on to this property for another 120 days. He wants out. He wants to be out in 60 days. So that's why you've got to think about your audience and think about what is it going to take to get my deal accepted and what is it going to take for me to make the deal happen. Okay, so now we take a look at the last component, last particular day is the closing date. So what this says here is, and this particular offer is 15 days. So that means if we chose this offer and we had that 30-day financing period after the 30-day inspection, what we're telling the seller is we're going to close in 75 days. Is that good? Yeah, you know what? That's pretty good. Because what you need to, and here's the part that really bugs me, and I've seen this happen quite a bit. It's 30-day inspection, 45-day financing, and I don't mean concurrently. I don't mean added onto it, tacked onto. I mean running concurrently. So you have the 30-day inspection and then 45-day financing. So that means you're up to the 45th day and your money is hard. And then what the people put in there is a 90-day close, which means that they've got another 45 days to close. Now that bugs me, folks. That's not going to work. That's not going to work so much for the seller's standpoint, but it's not really going to work from the bank's standpoint either. I mean, first of all, think about what the seller has to do. You're approved. Your money's hard. It's 45 days. Let's close this bad boy. But you say, no, I need another 45 days just to sit around and raise private money. Well, that may be true. But now you've got 45 days where the seller has to keep running this property and keep, leasing it up, and he wants out. And, if he knows that he's going to close in another 45 days, he might just take his eye off the ball on this property and let it run into the ground. You don't want that to happen. The other reason is the bank doesn't have 45 days. They're going to give you a commitment with an interest rate lock that's only good for probably no more than 30. So that means you got to close. Once you get that confirmation, you're going to close in 30 days with the lender. So you can't take from the end of the financing period to the closing date 45 days. It doesn't work. I've seen that so many times with new investors, and that is part of the flow that doesn't flow. That is part of the flow that a seller will look at and think to themselves, 90-day close after 45-day money going hard? Does this guy know how this game is played? And they're going to think that you're an amateur. So I don't want to see you do that. So that's the thing you want to do, is make sure that the end of the financing period and the closing date are no more than 15 to 30 days. That's all you need to close. Now, you may need to get an extension, and this is what we build into our offers and our purchase and sale agreements, is that we get them to give us an additional 30 days if financing contingencies, financing requirements, are needed. So we build in that extra time, and usually, between you and me and the wall post, it's because we need more time to raise private money. Okay? Yeah, I've said it. We all know how that works. So that is how you want to set up the dates on your letter of intent. And then make sure that, obviously, when you take the letter of intent and you start to craft the purchase and sale agreement, you're using all the same time frames necessary that you've already agreed to in the letter of intent. Really losing my voice here. So as a result, I will end this call here. Hopefully this was helpful. This will help you think through your offers and make them flow very easily and get accepted. Okay, we don't want to look like amateurs. You've got me looking over your shoulder. Let's do this right. Okay, folks, I appreciate your time, and I look forward to speaking to you on the next coaching call. Talk to you all soon.